This video will cover everything you need to know about creating a session option in your event on EventsPass. I've set up a demo tutorial event, the SD convention. So it's just a dummy event that I've created for training purposes. So it's all just made up, but for the purposes of training, everything will look similar in the way you can manage this for your own event. So the steps will be just the same, it'll just look different and have your own design for your own event. So with this tutorial, what I mean by session options is a few things. So a session option is, think of it like an added extra that is added on to some or all of the different ticket types that are available for your event. When we enable ticket options for an event, it adds a step in the checkout process, which I've got here on the screen. After the customer has chosen their tickets, it then provides another step to add the ticket options to their ticket. There are three different types of ticket options. We've got a standard option. An example of that might be like a piece of merchandise, a single thing, an object, something to collect on site. Another example of our options is a multi-buy option. Think of a multi-buy option as stored value. The best example I can give for this is if you imagine a food and wine event where patrons and guests can redeem credits for the food and the drinks that are available on site. A multi-buy option accommodates this. And then the third type of option is the session option. So today's tutorial is about the session option only. The session option, what makes it distinct from the other option types is it's built around accommodating events, essentially, within your event. Seminars, workshops, sessions. If you're deciding whether or not a session option is applicable, a session option has to happen at a certain time, on a certain day, potentially with a certain seating capacity, even in a given room or a given space or somewhere within your event. That's how you can decide whether or not a session option is applicable. So I'll take you through all the steps to get you to the point where, for your customer, they've reached the second step of their checkout and they're going through choosing their session options for their event. I've created one in advance to illustrate what we're building today. So I'm on the checkout process already. I've put an adult ticket in my cart and I've proceeded and I've come to the second step, options, and I can see I've got seminars is my category that I've got available to me here. Within this category, I've got a session option, and I can tell it's a session option because it's got the date selector and the time slot selector. It's got the option itself here and more information about this option. So the loose steps that I'll take you through in this tutorial, we sort of work backwards. So first we're going to create our sessions. They're the different durations and time slots that will be available for this option. So we'll go through essentially the process to set them up, and then you can clone them when you're doing multiple in one go. You can clone them to make things a bit quicker, so we'll go through that. Then we'll take you through how you actually connect the session durations that you've created to your ticket option. We'll then talk through putting your ticket options inside a ticket option category. So it's just a way to visually group the options that your customer has to choose from. This seminars box is a category. I've chosen to categorize this back to basics option here as a seminar. And so these are customizable. We can have as many as we want and we can order them how we want. And then finally, I'll take you through how to choose the rules that you want to apply on checkout. And so that's things like assigning minimum selection requirements, maximum selection requirements, things like that. And also as part of the process, I will
show you how you would connect the options to the specific ticket types that it's relevant to. Obviously, it's really important that the right options and the right sessions are only seen by the appropriate ticket types. It's especially important when you've got an event where you're heavily reliant on the promo codes to get people the right ticket or registration type for their event. We also equally want to connect the right ticket options and sessions to the appropriate ticket type. So we'll go through that too. So step one, what we'd like to do, what we'd like to do is to set up our sessions and session durations. So let's do that for our first example. On your event dashboard, let's just go back to our dashboard to start. We want to work within the ticket options menu. There's a few things we can do here. We can add new ticket options, we can manage the ticket options, and we can manage the rules. The rules are like where you choose whether the customer has to choose some options or has a minimum number they have to select, or there's a maximum number that they have to select. That's where that's chosen. The manage view is let's look at what we've already got, and the add new is I want to create a new option. Within the manage options space, let's just go here. This is where we create the option itself. So the option is this piece here. So this is ultimately where we want to get to. But to do so, we need to make sure we've got the sessions and the session durations in place. So you can think of those as the dates and the times that get connected to that option, because it's quite flexible. You can have as many dates as you want, you can have as many times as you want. So we need to make sure we've got the right dates and times in place. So we'll go back to our dashboard, we'll go to agenda, and we'll go to sessions. This is where we're going to work to set the dates and times. So now we've landed on the manage sessions view of your event. And this is where we add all the different sessions that you want to run. It could be a seminar, a speaker presentation, whatever it might be for your event. This is where you would add those date and time slots in the sessions themselves. We'll connect them later to the ticket options, but this is creating the sessions themselves. When we come here, all we need to worry about is sessions. We don't need to worry about any of the other menu items here. We can see down here a summary of any sessions we've already created. So we can see the back to basics hairstyling is already in there. We can see that session will run on all 4 days of this event. And in here we can manage the different time slots that this session is running. We'll create one from scratch. To do so, we'll hit create new session, and that loads a window. I'll just close that and I'll edit this test row that was already in here because it looks exactly the same. And with this, we're going to complete the necessary fields. So this will be hairstyling with Ryan Reynolds. We don't really need to worry about the description here. We're going to put the primary descriptions that the customer will see in the ticket option step. So we don't really need to worry too much about description. Selected days are the days that this session will run. So this is important. So let's just say this Ryan Reynolds session is on Saturday and Sunday. We'll make sure they're both ticked. And then we don't really need to worry too much about session type. If there's nothing in there, you can click create new type because it's going to ask you for one. We already have a couple of examples in there, so I'll just choose example 2. It doesn't really change the customer experience. So key fields are title, select days, and duration. So let's just say this is a 30-minute session, and that will show on the customer's PDF version of their ticket that it's a 30-minute session as well. So we want to get this field updated correctly. We don't need to worry about streams, speakers, or rooms. We can skip over those. The image, you might be tempted to upload it, but we can do that at the ticket option step. Again, time-saving step. So when we're doing the session update, we can skip over the image and we'll do that elsewhere. We won't go into the EventsPass app settings for this tutorial. We'll go into that in a separate tutorial. So we'll leave both of those as default, which is this is off and no document uploaded. Once we're happy with everything we've input, we'll click save. And then we need to specify the durations that this session is on. So the first step was choosing the dates. It will have durations, and then once we've saved it, we can click on this link and choose the timestamps on the given days that this session will run. So we've said this is running on Saturday and Sunday, so we need to choose the times. So we'll do Saturday first, and let's just say that there's a 9 a.m. It's 30 minutes. Yes, that's what we want. We don't need to worry about the room, but if there is a limited capacity, this is where we could update. So let's just say this has got 50 seats. We don't need to worry about the speakers at this point, and then we click save, and we can see it saved that row. Now as a time saving measure, we can hit clone, go through the same process again, and so let's say we've got a Saturday afternoon session which is on at 2 p.m. It's a 30-minute session, there's 50 seats again, and we can save. Then we can clone again and do our Sunday sessions. So this is the Saturday afternoon. I'll click clone, then I'll change it to Sunday, and then I'll leave all the other settings as is. We'll click save. You can see I've got Sunday at 2 p.m. and then we want to clone the Saturday morning because this session is also going to run on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. It's also 30 minutes and 50 seats. We can save that. You would repeat that process for all the different time slots that this session will run. Once you're happy with all of those time slots, we call them session durations, with the summary in front of you, and you're happy, you can click close, and this session is now complete. So presumably you'll try and do this in one batch or in big batches rather than one at a time. So as another time saving measure, you can clone everything you've just created there. So I'll do an example, and when we click the clone button, it asks us what we want to clone. And so first of all, what's the title of the new session that we're going to create? So we had a hairstyling workshop with Ryan Reynolds. Maybe now it's a barber expert tips session, for example. Map event dates is helpful if this barber expert tips, if it's running at the same days and times as the previous one that we just cloned, we can leave it Saturday and Sunday. If it's running at the same times but on different days, say runs on Thursday and Friday, we can then map it accordingly so that the Saturday time slots will carry over to Thursday, Sunday time slots will carry over to Friday. And then we can again just choose a type, but this doesn't impact the customer experience, so we can just keep it as is, and then we would hit clone, and then you've got your clone there, and then you can check your durations, eyeball them, just make sure you're happy with how it's copied over. We can see that the dates have updated to the 22nd and 23rd, so that's all looking good. For this tutorial, I think we're just going to proceed with just the one, the hairstyling with Ryan Reynolds that I've just created. So I'll just remove the cloned one for now.
So just recapping the process, you would want to create as many sessions in big batches as you can at this step. So you would create your session and make sure that they're showing up on the correct days. And then within those days, you're going to create your session durations and make sure you're happy with each of those durations. And then clone, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste for as many of those sessions as you need to. Review all of that information that you've updated, make sure you are happy with it. Once you're happy that all that session content is in there, the next step is actually to connect that session to the option. Now the option is the thing that the customer sees when they're going through the checkout. So that's what we're going to go through next. And to do so, first we'll go back to our event dashboard. Then we're going to work within ticket options. Remember, we can add a new option, manage ticket options, and manage the rules. The rules comes last. What we're doing is adding a new ticket option, which we could hit that right now. Let's just go manage first to see what we've got. This is an old multi-buy ticket option that is not relevant to our example. This is the one that we could see in the example from before, this one here. And we don't yet have one for the Ryan Reynolds session. So if we imagine we're starting from scratch, we're going to hit add new. This is a Ryan Reynolds hairstyling expert workshop. The best. Now, my suggestion here is, if wherever you can, provide the more specific you can be about what the session or the workshop or the seminar is in both of these description spots, the less work your support team will have in fielding questions and queries about what's involved in each session. The example I've set up is not a very good example because it just says description. And so in here, you can embed a video, image, you can put links in, you can text format. So this is just placeholder text to give you an example so you can see where it's showing up. But my suggestion is be as descriptive as you can, and that'll help your customers and that'll help minimize the amount of support requests that you get. We can change the font, we can change the color, and so on. Again, we can choose an image. Let's use the same image and let's focus on his hair. And it's cropped it for us again. So the suggestion here is a minimum width of 700 pixels based on how the image will load for this event. When we create this, I'll show a preview, but we'll see a nice big image that is at the top of this box. Sorry. So 700 wide, we'll make sure it's nice and crisp and clear. And again, a ratio of 2:1. This is where we dictate pricing. So is this session option paid or free? We can, in this example, let's just say it's a free, paid option, sorry, and it's $50 to hear from Ryan. We need to choose what ticket option type this is. So if you remember the previous step, we're creating the sessions. Now we're creating the connection to the options. And so this is where we're linking it to those timestamps that I've filled in before. I just had to pause for a moment, guys, but I'm back. So we've created our session options for Ryan and his different time slots on Saturday and Sunday. Now we're creating the option. which is the thing that will help it show up in this checkout flow. So we're at the option step, we're making this option. So we're connecting these sessions to this option. So to do this, we choose session option, and then we need to choose which one is relevant. So we want the expert hairstyling with Ryan Reynolds. Now, before, when we categorized at the session step, that's not actually what will dictate here at the front end what is seen. This categorization is how we group the different options for what the customer sees at the front end. So we've got seminars, credits. Credits was just my testing example from before. Seminars is what you can see there already. Let's add in another one for experts. And we've got that selected. And this is a really important step. We need to choose which ticket types that we want to allow to see this option. So maybe there's a certain combination or a certain subset of your customers or ticket holders who get access to the expert sessions, but not everybody. And this is essentially where you choose it. So let's just say maybe it's a premium adult pass that gets assigned. You need to go through and tick the relevant ticket types for this option that we're creating. You can specify that each request for a session booking by the customer when they're going through the checkout has to go through an approval process. In most cases, I'd recommend leaving this off. It creates more administrative work for you as the organizer. Generally, as a default, recommend it just auto approves, and it will sell out. If you've set a seating capacity, like however many seats are available, it will sell out by default, so you don't need to manage that. Turning this on requires you to manually yes, no approve each of the booking requests made by all customers. So just be aware that that's an option available to you. If you want to apply kind of like a warning message or anything really important about this option, this is kind of like the place where you can do this. I'm going to put something in so you can see once we've launched it what it actually does, but it's kind of like a warning call out for someone that might be deciding to choose this. So like if we say warning, and then we'll see later where that shows up. We can change what the option selection button says. By default it says select. Quite often that's fine, but you can customize that text if you like. Then we're going to hit create ticket option. So we now have a ticket options for their expert hairstyling with Ryan Reynolds. It's not yet activated. So active means it's available for when the customer goes through the checkout, it's available for use. So if we're happy with it and we're ready to launch, we can hit activate. Now that our new ticket option is active, it's essentially ready for purchase by customers. So it's live, it's on the website. There's a few things that I'll call out now before I show a quick preview of what we're going to see. So from a visual point of view, you can organize the order that your different ticket option categories will show up for customers. And remember, when we're talking about ticket option categories, we're talking about this bucket here that would have more and more different options in it the more that you add. So to do so, we can manage ticket option categories. Credits
which I've disabled all the options related to that. That's unrelated, so we can not worry about that one for now. And then we're left with seminars and experts. So you can see we can sort them around. So maybe we want the expert sessions on top, we can click and drag them. If we want to add new categories, we can add them here, or on the previous step, you can see that I can also make a new category when we're creating the option. So just be aware that this is here, so these can be moved around as desired. So let's pause for a moment. I'm going to go and refresh the page that the customer will see and bring up what we've built so far. So we've refreshed the customer facing page. We've gone to the ticket selection flow. Now we can hopefully see what we've just added and updated reflected in the flow, which we'll see when we get to the options step. So let's choose an adult admit 1 ticket type and go next. And straight away we can see that the new session option is available and visible. We can see that the experts category is put on top, like I just showed you before, and the seminars is on the bottom. Within each of these categories, we can have as many of these options, session options, as we want. So now we can piece it all together, so you can start to see where everything that we just updated, how it falls into place. You can see the short description falls under the title of the option and underneath the price of the option. If we click more information, we get the detail view. So you can see a nice crisp photo, you can see the title, and then all of the description about this session. So again, really important just to remove any doubt and ambiguity from the options so that it's really clear to the customer, and that just puts less burden on your team in answering queries and questions. You can see the information label that I updated, how it's kind of like an information box and alert box at the bottom. If there's any really special information you'd like to call out about this session, you can do so here. When this detail view of the session is loaded, so the customer can choose their selection from here. I'll show you an example. It's December 24 at 9 AM. It's saying available because I've set, there's 30 slots, I think I set it as from memory, and there's still slots available, so I can select that. Alternatively, if I don't want the more information section, I can just click from here and I can choose my selection from here. This will now update on my ticket, and I can do the same for any other options that are applicable to my ticket type. What I might do is quickly finish off the checkout and show an example of the ticket PDF and what shows up on that ticket PDF, so you can see the different bits of information that are on that final ticket. So I'll pause, I'll go and get that ticket, and then I'll bring it up on screen and show you. We are back. I found an existing transaction that I can use as an example. So this is my ticket confirmation email to my event. This has the basics. So this has my ticket QR code that will get me into the event, my name and my ticket ID, and information about the event. Now there's some more information available from a couple of different ways of viewing the tickets. So if I load my web view of tickets by clicking this button, I can see here my ticket ID, it's registered to my name. This is the other session option that already existed. So this is from my previous transaction, and I've disabled this since, but these are the two options that I selected when I went through the checkout for this ticket. And so you can see it's got the name of the option, the date that the session is running, and the time that it's running on. So that information is there, as well as some basic information about the event. that's the same web view. And then if I download the PDF version of the ticket, which if I go back a step, if I click this download button, I'll get the PDF version of my tickets, which looks like this. There's a barbecuing image on screen. I'm not showing that on screen, am I? So I'll pause the video and I'll make sure I'm bringing up the PDF view for you. We are back briefly. This is my PDF download of the same ticket that I just showed you. There's all kinds of information about the event. We can see that it's my ticket. Here's my ticket ID. Now we can see in the ticket options section any of the options that I've chosen during the checkout process. So we can see that I've chosen this back to basics session option, and we know it's a session option because it's got the timestamp and the date, and it's approving by default because they'll just approve automatically if they successfully go through checkout. And then there's the drink credits, which we're not showing for this tutorial, but that was something that I'd chosen on this previous transaction. So you can see where the different information comes together, and so you can hopefully piece together all the different parts that you're inputting in the back end in the management of your event, how it translates to what the customer sees during the checkout and when they get their tickets. So that's the process. There are two more small things that I would like to show, and so I'll bring that up on screen for you again. Let's come back. So one of the questions we often get is, what if there is questions specific to the options that the customers are choosing during their checkout? If they're choosing a show bag, do they want show bag A or B, or do they want the small or medium or large version of something? So there's often questions that go along with choosing an option. So if your session option has specific requirements, or you need to capture certain information from the customer, if they've chosen that, we can do that. It's probably beyond the remit of this tutorial, but just know that this can be achieved if we add option questions. Excuse me. And that will go into a question builder, and you'll add the questions that are specific to that session option or any option that you've got for the event, and then that will show up on the registration form when a ticket is selected that has this option assigned to it. And remember, this is step 3 of the checkout. So they've gone through tickets, they've gone through options, now they get to register, and then that's when they'll get the question. So be aware that that's possible. And then the other thing I'd like to illustrate is the rules. So right now in this setup, the customer gets to the option step and they can choose as many of the options that are on the screen as they like. Often there's limits and rules around what a customer can choose, and we can set those rules with ticket option rules. So if we click here, there's no current rules assigned. These rules are set at the ticket level, because often you've got a VIP might have access to everything, and then a general admission might have access to just a subset. So we can set rules at the ticket level. So if we say adult admit 1, we can set a limit at the overall level, which is this option limits section here, which means when the customer gets to step 2 on the checkout, how many overall can they choose at most or at minimum, if we want to force that. We don't have to force it, but if we do want to force that, we could come into here and we could say that, okay, we're going to limit this customer to choosing 3 options in total, because that's how we want it for this ticket type for this event. Now we can also set the rule at the category level. So within this bucket, you've got your different buckets. Within the experts bucket, let's just say we want to require that they choose at least 1 option. We can do that. We do that by enabling the option limit per category. So we turn that on, and let's just say it was the experts bucket, wasn't it? If we hit 1 and no maximum, let's create that rule, and that's saved. And then I'll pause and I'll reload the page just to quickly show you this, and then we'll be done. We are back. I've added my ticket type again, and I've proceeded through the cart, and I'm at my option selection screen again. Now you can see, because of the rules that I've just set, if you remember, I said the customer can choose a maximum of 3 options overall for everything that's available to them. Well, we can't exceed that anyway because we've only got 2 options, so that's irrelevant. But I've set an option of a minimum of 1 must be selected in the experts category, so we can do that. So we can see there's a big exclamation and red warning. You have to choose at least 1. This is, I guess, when choosing whether or not to use rules, if you go back a step and ask, how important is it that the customer chooses explicitly the right number of options at the checkout? If it's completely open and they can choose as many or as little as they want, then just leave the rules off, and then that's fine. If there is a requirement, make sure you use the rules, because you don't want to have yourself in a situation where the customer has added 3 of something to the cart when really your event should have been set up so they could only have 1 to the cart. And again, this is about saving yourself time, and time responding to queries and time correcting checkout process when they've added more of something to the cart or less of something to the cart than they should have. So this is where the rules are really helpful. It's available from that ticket option rule step, and again, it's set at the ticket by ticket level, because the tickets often have different requirements. So you can go through and choose which of your tickets you're setting the rules for, set them, click save, and it'll show up here, and you can then test it out. So you can save it, reload your event, and step through and just check that it's showing up how you want it to show up. So that pretty much concludes session options. So there's a bit to go through, but once you've practiced a couple of times, it should become more familiar to you. That's pretty much everything there is to know about configuring the session options on an EventsPass event. So we'll end the tutorial there, and hopefully that's answered all of your questions and is really helpful.